Hey guys, and welcome back to the only series out there that combines the lore of Magic the Gathering with the physical cards you can win. I'm Simon, and this is Friday Night Lore. So this is going to be the quote-unquote start of the Kaladesh season for FNL, meaning you'll be seeing a lot of new cards being given away from the set. But as always, FNL is first and foremost about the lore, and we have a lot of ground to cover. In our last videos on the story of Kaladesh, we discovered that the Gatewatch refuses to intervene with the internal conflict between the Renegades and the consulate. All except Chandra and Liliana, that is. Her parents were Renegades and killed for it. Kaladesh is her home plane. She has to go there and offer what help she can to this Renegade who's being hunted down. She storms off with Liliana Vess, while the Gatewatch sends Nissa to track her down with Dovin Baan, the native planeswalker who came seeking the Gatewatch's help. Now, let's venture into Kaladesh, and follow Chandra as she sets her former home ablaze with fire. In a flash, Chandra finds herself in a place she hasn't seen for several years, her childhood home, the place she learned of her pyromancer abilities, the world where she lost her parents. It seemed much busier than when she was a child. Somehow the buildings felt larger and the people more rushed. Smack dab in the center of her former life, a life lost to memory, she felt her emotions getting the better of her. She began heating up. Before losing control, she remembered why she returned in the first place. The Renegade needed her help. Her and her parents spent their entire lives running from the consulate, doing what they could for the people most forgotten by this corrupt system. They were mechanical miracle workers and renegade Robin Hoods, but the chase had to come to an end eventually. Despite her awesome abilities as a pyromancer, Chandra came to learn that she lacked any sense of self-control. In fact, her being a pyromancer is what set the consulate watchdog Baral after her and her family in the first place. That's when they stopped acting like Robin Hoods and more like wanted criminals. Her parents wouldn't risk their daughter for anything, but each day brought with it increasing challenges, and they couldn't hide her blatant displays much longer. But all that was in the past. Chandra buried it the best she could. It was hard to convince herself that she was doing this purely to help someone in need and not out of some sense of guilt for her parents' fate. It was even harder to convince her traveling companion, Liliana Vess. She was all for Chandra doing as she pleased, whether that be helping this renegade or burning the whole plane to the ground. So long as she had some fun, she was ready to join the ride. Chandra's search for the endangered renegade turned to conversations with renegade sympathizers, which turned to social meetings with inventors, which eventually turned to drinking in a club, the natural chain of information gathering. Here, Liliana stood leaning against a wall with a drink in her hand, being harassed by a slightly intoxicated Vidalcan in consulate uniform. Liliana wasn't in the mood to flirt, so instead, she used the opportunity to acquire more information. The consulate officer didn't like being rebuffed or asked about questions of security. Chandra saw this disturbance and rushed over, but the conversation already turned heated. It only got worse when Liliana introduced her as her friend and renegade sympathizer. Now, Chandra knew Liliana wasn't that drunk, but she did always have a strange idea of fun. Upon hearing this, the consulate officer immediately attempted to put the two under arrest, but of course, that didn't go over too well. As he tried to apply the handcuffs, Chandra's hair erupted in flames and she landed a perfect right hook to the man's jaw, knocking him out cold. She grabbed Liliana's hand and ran for the door, but she stopped them. She asked Chandra if she wanted to do more, to show this crowd her true power and what this man really deserved. The offer was tempting, but this wasn't her and wasn't going to help their case. They left the club and faded into the crowd. With their faces known, Chandra and Liliana were acting more like her parents had in their final months, dodging in and out of alleyways to escape patrolling guards. They found themselves diving into the city's sewer system, much to Liliana's displeasure. In the dark, cramped tunnels on the wall just next to them as they entered was a beautiful mosaic tattered by time. It was an image of her father, looking more myth than man, a hero in every sense of the word. Liliana looked at the art. It was striking how much Chandra looked like Kieran. She had his nose and his goggles. The image causes Chandra to spill her guts to Liliana, telling her everything that happened to her and her family so many years ago. About her powers, the consulate, and the madman Baral who took everything from her. Chandra tried blaming herself, but Liliana wouldn't allow it. This Baral and the consulate are the ones to blame, and they deserve to feel your wrath. It was very Liliana of her, but the words struck a chord with Chandra. She wanted them to see her defiance, feel her justice, torch their world to the ground as they did hers. Just then, two guards jumped down and confronted the fugitives. Chandra began to jolt the other way, but Liliana stops her. They don't have to run, there's another way. Chandra, on the other hand, isn't so sure. They don't do this, but Liliana ensures that they do what they must. Her fire spurred forth, hurling a blazing bolt which landed just short of the advancing guards. She liked Liliana, but hated taking orders. She wasn't gonna kill these men as she wanted. The two planeswalkers ran out of the tunnels and boarded a train, losing the guards. As they rode, the train came to an undesignated stop, halting with the squeal of steel and pistons straining. Just over the platform above, Chandra witnessed what she described as controlled chaos. The Inventor's Fair was being disturbed, and consulate guards were busy ushering people to the appropriate exits. The Renegades were behind this, Chandra was sure, and something of this magnitude must have been orchestrated by the specific renegade Dovin Baan was afraid of. This was Chandra's target, the person she looked to help. They both jumped out, ignoring the automated request blaring through sirens all around them. Through the confused crowd, one person in particular caught Liliana's eye. A man in a gray hood, trying a little too hard to remain unseen. It was enough to convince Chandra that this was their man, the renegade, needing their help. She screams out, "Hey you, wait!" Which is the kind of thing no alleged criminal wants to hear, so he bolts and they chase after him. They follow him until he abruptly stops to apparently talk to an older woman. His hood was down now, and what Liliana saw caught her completely off guard. He had gray hair and commanded a metallic arm, but Chandra was more interested in the woman. She had auburn hair like her own, only with strands of gray mixed about. She felt so familiar, so close. "I found you at last, Renegade Prime. Did you think your little spectacle will matter to my fair?" said the man. "We'll stop you, head judge, if not today, then one day soon," the woman replied. Liliana spun the man around and came face to face with him, uttering the name Tezzeret with great disgust. Chandra, with hot tears running down her face, only managed to say one thing: "Mom." So in this story, we finally see what's going on in Kaladesh. The fight between the Renegades and the consulate gets discussed a little more, but it seems to go much deeper than just that. The Renegade Prime, or leader, seems to be Chandra's own mother, who she believed was dead this whole time, while the leader of the consulate is the lapdog of Bolas, the planeswalker, Tezzeret, who has some really bad history with both Liliana and Jace. Things seem to be coming to a head, but the end result is still unclear. Anyway guys, that's gonna do it for this week's Friday Night Lore, but we still have to name the giveaway card of the week. Since we talked so much about Chandra and her defiance to authority, I found it fitting to give away a copy of Chandra, Torch of Defiance itself. To enter for your chance to win this card, all you have to do is be a subscriber to the channel and leave a comment on this video. At the end of the week, I'll select one at random and announce the winner at the end of next week's Friday Night Lore video. Also, if you share the video on social media, who knows, it may up your chances. Wink wink. In any case, if you enjoyed the video, consider throwing it a like and again, share it with friends. It goes a long way in supporting future content. As always guys, thanks so much for watching and I'll see you next time.